I'm Derek with Enertiv, and I'm here today to talk about how and when to invest in smart building technologies. Specifically, building technologies that help improve asset performance and lower costs. Now, in today's world, there's this intersection of very smart folks and savvy folks from the real estate and technology trying to figure out how best to apply the Internet of Things to actual assets and the physical infrastructures themselves. The questions we like to ask, though, are, well, what is the Internet of Things? How we can apply different aspects of the Internet of Things and sensors and hardware and the software that comes along with it to our assets, and how can we best pretty much make money off of it? So the answer is it depends. It depends on a few things, specifically the asset types that you own and you operate. So to start off, and briefly walk through each one, we have our older assets. Now, an older asset might be a building that was built pre-war, perhaps or maybe 5-6 decades ago, has minimal functionality in terms of controls, they're older systems. You might not have any insight into your utility usage. You might just get a monthly bill telling you what your usage was. So a great starting point there from an IoT perspective is actually getting more transparency into the condition and performance of your older systems. So how do you do that? By adopting power monitoring for your various systems. So if you wanted to know when your chillers and your boilers were on, when they were ramping up, ramping down, perhaps when pumps and motors or fans were failing for a variety of reasons, trending data every single minute of electrical consumption, kind of like a heart monitor detecting a heart murmur, is a great place to start. It hands tools into your building staff's hands and pockets, letting them get access to the issues that are occurring in their buildings an hour, maybe a day later, rather than a week or a month later. And decreasing the level of deferred maintenance and deferred energy management decreases costs and decreases headaches associated with managing your assets. So a good place to start with older assets is probably basic equipment level power monitoring. Now, moving on, onto your modern assets. Modern assets tend to have more advanced building controls, essentially, rather than maybe pneumatic controls. You'll have electric digital controls. You might have hourly data, whether it's just your building utility data that's digitized, or a few hundred sensors based off your BMS telling you various conditions of your systems. And you probably have some on-site staff that is trained in leveraging the data coming out of these systems. That being said, BMSs are not designed for anything but getting systems to their prescribed set points for optimizing the conditions of your tenant spaces. There is very little self-analytical capabilities and usually few redundancies in place to ensure the optimization of schedules and sequence of operations. And so, in that instance, whether you wanted to tap in using a variety of hardware devices into the BMS and trending that data, or perhaps actually implementing new low-cost space and temperature and occupancy sensors that can tie into your BMS, there are now solutions available that are very affordable and very scalable and easy to use that can give you these additional insights, say, tell you when your tenant's conference rooms have a buildup of CO2, which is usually an issue as it relates to cognitive functionality. And that's always an issue for tenant worker productivity, and thus it's always an important factor to consider with tenant retention. So when looking at these types of issues in real time, you might want to start thinking about ventilation issues, perhaps economizers or dampers that are stuck in certain positions, and rather, again, than wait a week or a month for a tenant to complain, you can be more proactive about the approach and decrease the costs associated, again, with dealing with these issues. Then you've got your cutting edge buildings. These buildings are your run-of-the-mill, well, not really run-of-the-mill, they're your Hudson Yards of the world, they're your World Trade Centers of the world. They're assets that have been developed in the last few years, have advanced control system with thousands of sensors, a variety of real-time data streams coming out of these types of sensors that you see in place that we just discussed, and highly trained staff to look at this data and constantly tweak and optimize your building systems in place and be very responsive to your tenants' needs. That being said, there are always ways that you can improve. Whether you have gaps in various data streams, you really don't know how to optimize chiller efficiency because you're not monitoring the power usage of the various systems that make up your chillers. or whether you're missing various air quality sensors just due to the cumbersome costs that's been historically associated with networking them back to your controls. You now have these wireless sensors and these separate platforms that lay on top of your BMS that can give you this additional insight. Or if we're thinking about these advanced buildings and you want to take a look at the more structural aspects of building operations, primarily leaks, which are a larger controllable operational expense on the repair side of the balance sheet, there are now flood detection, leak detection sensors that can be plugged into your PTACs, your VTACs, around the perimeter of your roofs or in your basements, so that when leaks do occur, rather than waiting a few days or a week to be notified of the issue by tenants, you can actually know within a few hours. So the annoying costs related to replacing floors, replacing walls, mold and mildew, that can be decreased greatly by, again, increasing your awareness, leveraging these new IoT sensors. So it's a very brief overview. The idea here is to get you thinking about your different assets, the plethora of new sensor types that are available on the market today, and thinking about how to tie them back to your existing workflows around maintenance and repairs and energy management. Now, we're going to be jumping into a few topics over the next few weeks, helping you better understand how the future of real estate operations is really a conditions-based predictive maintenance approach. And that's going to entail the ubiquitous presence of sensors around the entirety of your building, from all of your systems, vibration, power monitoring sensors, to environmental and temperature sensors in every single space and square foot of your building. So we're going to be jumping into that in the next few weeks. I hope this has been useful. If not, either way, provide some comments below and we'll be sure to address them on our next talk. All right, thanks.